to try and help them out. Let's take a look at what the roads are like so far this morning and send it over to Chrissy.
Well, unfortunately, still a very messy situation out there, Chris, especially on those in-town routes. Of course, officials urging people, if you are in those affected areas, do not leave your home, do not go anywhere. And to add to that, the Toronto District Catholic School Board, as well as the Public School Board, it is closed today, as well as a lot of daycare facilities. A lot of employers have shut things down as well. So what we can expect to see, well, for transit, Chris, it's an absolute mess. Go Transit is operating on a special schedule today, so do check in. Multiple delays. As well, the TTC with subway lines due to power outage. There's still a lot of cancellations.
Yeah, listening to funny enough, talking to Chrissy just a moment ago, have also been affected by the ice, and that your cameras are slightly limited this morning.
Absolutely. With all those power outages, Chris, unfortunately along the 401, your Gardner, the DVP, a lot of camera outages. And in addition to that, if you're on the actual roadways, a lot of the lights are out. So even my coworker Jeremy was saying he was heading on the Gardner today and it was pitch dark. So a very eerie feeling out on the roads and a dangerous situation in town as well. With, as you can see, those major routes lightly traveled. But if transit is your option, bear in mind lots of delays. Go Transit operating on an adjusted winter storm schedule, and TTC also seeing a lot of subway service canceled due to the power outages and just a mess out there on the in-town routes. Thanks very much. Well, unfortunately, although a lot of in-town problems, lots of traffic lights out causing a traffic headache, we now have serious problems on the QEW. That's Toronto bound approaching Red Hill Valley Parkway. That's also looking rather light. But if you are taking your Go Transit or TTC as your options, unfortunately, there are multiple delays, and your Go Transit's actually running on an adjusted winter service. So do check in with your Beat the Traffic app, available for iTunes and Android devices. Well, in addition to all of that, Chris, of course, if you are in those areas, stay off the roads so that crews can do their job, get everything cleaned up, because it's an absolute mess. Lots of traffic lights out as well. So remember, treat it as a four-way stop traveled. If transit is your option, unfortunately, multiple delays on Go and TTC. You can follow at BTT_GTA for the latest. And of course, download the Beat the Traffic app. Now, with more on what we can expect weather-wise, I'll hand it back to you, Chris. Thanks, Chris. A messy morning, of course, in-town routes, lots of traffic lights out, lots of street lights out, and trees and debris on the road. So do stay at home if you're in those affected areas. Let crews do their job and get that cleaned up. As well, we have a serious problem spot on the QEW as you have weather, and of course, transit is affected. So TTC seeing a lot of cancellations on your subway lines, and as well, Go Transit operating on a severe winter storm schedule. So, Chris, a mess out there. If you are heading on those in-town routes, highways, though, pretty lightly traveled, but we do just have that problem on the QEW.
This couldn't, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chris. Well, just with you talking about the road conditions, the good news is waking up this morning on those major routes, it's not icy. They've been able to treat the roads. Still power outages. Actually, my coworker was traveling along the Gardner this morning, Chris, and he said that a lot of the lights were out on his way, and he said it was a very eerie feeling to be out there with it so dark. So just drive with extra caution today. And of course, if you're taking transit, do expect multiple delays. For sure. I mean, it's been a very scary scene out there for motorists. If you're still in those affected areas, do stay off the roads, particularly in those in-town routes, just so crews can get things cleaned up. As for the major routes, which is excellent news. Volume is looking quite light. But again, if you are heading out on transit, do expect some heavy delays on both TTC and the Go.
Bottom, it was that thick, it was that slick. Chrissy?
There you go. You had your very own moving sidewalk installed free of charge due to Mother Nature. Luckily, those major routes out there are not looking too bad. Luckily, those major routes, as I say, Chris, not looking too bad. Of course, you can always check in with your Beat the Traffic app for the latest and follow at BTT_GTA.
Yeah.
They certainly are. The major traffic headaches, Chris, are in two places. Of course, in-town routes, and that's because of the multiple power outages. There's also still some lights out on your travels, so just drive with extra caution is the name of the game. Now, for what we can expect in the coming days, back to you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, and naturally, with all that damage that you're seeing from those incredible shots there, Chris, a lot of the in-town routes are where things are quite messy. Lots of power outages, which of course result in a lot of those traffic days. So If you don't have to head out today, it might be a good day to grab a blanket and hot chocolate and you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Gardner, the DVP still has lights out, so the road very dark, very eerie of a drive. Now, we do have some serious problems still in the QEW Toronto bound. I just got off with the OPP, so they've moved the last of the backlog through, but your QEW Toronto bound is completely closed at Red Hill Valley Parkway, so you're going to be diverted off at Centennial Parkway. And as you can imagine, this is causing a very serious traffic headache. And just look at this shot here on the 401. Most of my cameras are out, but even the ones that I have, I can't really see because they're covered in ice. So a very serious situation still out there.
So for those of you that are wondering why we couldn't see through those traffic cameras, that's why. The proof is right there. Traffic.
Well, those major routes aren't too bad. It's in town where we still have those power outages everyone's dealing with, and as a result, many traffic lights are out, so do treat them as a four-way stop. Luckily, what is behind that ice is very lightly traveled. Those major routes, Chris, are certainly a lot quieter than usual.
Yeah, thank goodness. Chrissy.
Yes, and just to add to that, of course, traveling around in those affected areas, just stay off the roads if you are seeing a lot of trees down so crews can do their work, get things cleared up, and that way it'll be a safer bet as well. But no major traffic headaches, which is, of course, the silver lining to this very messy story that we're seeing in the aftermath of this storm. Yes, luckily, Chris, those major routes a lot lighter than usual. It's in town where things are still really messy. Lots of traffic lights out. Do treat it as a four-way stop adjustment because of this winter storm as well. TTC seeing several delays. So just pack your patience, plan ahead. And if you are not sure of the situation, maybe your better bet is to just stay put.
Boy, the schedule, Ross, Chrissy Van.
Well, naturally, in-town routes after quite a storm are really messy. We have lots of traffic lights out, so do treat them as a four-way stop. And, of course, lots of downed trees, so it can be quite hazardous on those in-town routes. But heading on the 404, the 401, no major delays. But in town, just do drive with extra care.
Thanks a lot, Chrissy.
Well, of course, even getting to those warming centers can be quite a treacherous trek just due to the power outages. Lots of lights out, so treat all of those as a four-way stop. And so your better bet could be hopping off a little bit earlier, jump onto one of the service roads. And, of course, you can download the Beat the Traffic app for your iPhone or your Android device, and that'll reroute you around this problem spot.
Oh, what a headache. What a headache.
And if you are worried about getting to work and things like that, just drive with extra care out there. Of course, multiple traffic lights out due to the power outages. We're seeing multiple delays. Go Transit is on a special winter service for the winter storm, and then TTC also seeing several alerts. So check in with your Beat the Traffic app for the latest details, available for your iPhone and Android device, as we're with you all the way. That's exactly right, Chris. Those major routes have been looking lighter, but it's in town with those traffic lights out, with trees down, that in spots is on Transit. Go Transit has multiple delays, as well as the TTC. You can follow us at BTT_GTA for the latest on that. Yes, dealing with a lot of my own traffic cameras out due to power outages. And of course, the real story is in town, still very messy out there. Transit also a mess if you're taking Go or TTC. You can follow us at BTT_GTA, and we will share those alerts with you for those delays.
Okay, so I have some good news to close off. I got about 20 seconds.
Thanks, Chris. Well, as Mark is alluding to, icy conditions out there, as well as down power lines and trees on those in-town routes. And those power lines down, you can always check in with your Beat the Traffic app for the latest details on the roads, and follow at BTT_GTA.
Thanks a lot for that, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chris. Well, we got lucky with your major routes not looking too bad. It's in town where we still have multiple power outages. So, of course, traffic lights not working. He has multiple alerts. But, of course, you can always check in with your Beat the Traffic app. That's available for download for your iTunes and for your Android device. Keep it here.
Stormwatch has been brought to you by